Norman, do you think, um, welcome to everyone. Sorry, we just welcome to Voices of Integrity podcast we have no idea where these things get put, someplace special. Norman, do you think women are a puzzle or a mystery? Do you know what the difference is?
Yeah, with something to do with one of them you solve via wisdom. I think that's the mystery.
Yep, that's the mystery. Yep.
I would say I don't know what I would say honestly. I would say it's probably a bit more towards mystery, but
Yeah, puzzle is solved typically through younger people. Younger people tend to do better with puzzles because it's brute force, it's just hard work. And mysteries, they're often solved through wisdom, and sometimes you can't solve them. So I would agree, yeah, a woman's a mystery without question.
for sure. When you put it like that, for sure. I've never met a man, no matter how old, who claims to have figured out women. I've never heard that. I don't,
Right.
have you?
Well, I haven't. I mean, it's interesting because people go ahead and say I'm a woman whisperer. And, my mom, when I was 8 years old, gave me, was I nine? I don't know. I was 8 or 9. I think I was nine when she gave me the mystery to women.
Tell me more, Mark.
Yeah. So I don't know how, but somehow, like my parents were, my dad was a pastor, very frugal. I mean, these guys, they didn't spend money on anything. Like it's just like they're the frugalest people I've ever met in my life. I mean, it's great. It's just the stories I could tell on how frugal they were. It's crazy. Anyways, and so I was 9 years old and I had paper routes and I was a pretty enterprising little guy and I had money. And they taught us how to work really hard and then save money, you know, and there was probably a lot of natural gifts. I think when I was 12, I realized that I was very normal. Well, below normal. I mean, God told me that when I was 4, but it took me, or 8. He told me that when I was 8 years old that I was average to below average. And so, but it took me 4 years, 4 additional years to go, huh, I really am below average. And I said, I don't want to be below average. I mean, I want to do some amazing things with my life. And so at 12, I was like introspective and I said, how am I going to do that? I mean, what skills do you have? And the only skill I came up with was hard work. So I just said, I'm just going to work harder than anybody. And so, anyways, at 9, I went ahead and I noticed my mom liked sour cream and onion potato chips. Like, I don't know how, but I just did. I just like, oh, shoot. And because they're so frugal, sour cream and onion potato chips are not like my parents never bought. Never. I don't even know how I observed her because probably we were at some rich family's place and they had sour cream and onion potato chips. Another funny story on that. But, anyways, let me close this loop before we get going and see what you guys want to accomplish because this could go crazy today. Anyways, so I noticed and I said, my mom does a lot for me. Again, this is a 9 year old, and my mom does a lot for me, and she's never going to buy them. Why don't I just buy them? So on the way home from school one day, we had a corner store, a small convenience corner store on the corner of our block. And so I stopped in there and I bought her a bag of sour cream and onion potato chips. Now, I'm thinking this is not that big of a deal. Like, you know, it's just not. Like, when you look at everything my mom does for me and I mean, it's crazy. And all I'm doing, like, I'm just like, I'll just get this, no big deal. And, so I bought them and then I came home and I gave them to her. and I'll never forget it. It was absolutely crazy. I handed them to her. I said, "Hey, Mom, I got these for you because I know you like them." And she looked at me and she started crying. And I remember at that time, I remember thinking, "Holy cow, women are weird. Like this is strange. Like, it's just weird. Like women are just strange." And then she kneeled down, looked right into my eyes, and she said, "Mark, you're going to make some woman the most amazing husband in the world because you're so sensitive." Now, at the time, I didn't know women have these wily little tricks. I didn't realize she was tricking me. Like she was tricking me into being sensitive. The driver analytic driver, they're not sensitive. Just not. They just aren't. But she knew at that. I don't know how she knew. Later on, she also claims she doesn't remember the story. Trust me, it's a real story. Sometimes people say, "Is this real?" Like you can't make this stuff up. You just can't. And then she, as her tears are flowing down her face, I'm like looking at her like, "That's kind of weird. You're kind of weird. Like it's not that big of a deal." And I remember thinking, women aren't that complicated. They're not. They're really not. I mean, like just be sensitive. Just be sensitive. Like pay attention to the little things that nobody else pays attention, and they're just putty in your hands. I mean, just don't, you know, now with my, Melissa's kids, I can't say the ASS word. So, I've got to say bum. Like what? So, for guys, just don't have your head up your bum. Like just like like, like it's just I don't understand. It's just they're just not that complicated. And so I learned that at 9, and so that was 52 years ago. And it's just like, and I'm so thankful for my mom for teaching me that lesson. Like it's just, because it's helped me tremendously with my 4 daughters. If you consider, you know, having deep relationships with women is a good thing. Man, I mean, it's so much joy, but it's so much it's so much pain too. Like it's like I'm not saying it's like a drug or alcohol. I'm not saying that. Not connecting those things. It's so intriguing. It's like the ultimate challenge for a man. Like it's more complicated than any business could be, but it's simple too. Like I understood it as a 9-year-old. It's just, and so it's funny because Ben, he came over. He's a strange one. Man, that kid's strange. He's weird. So, he works at Grand Design, and Jonai, his boss, just laughs at Ben a lot. He's just like, "You're just strange." And so this week somehow Jonai said, You were one of those really wealthy English kids, weren't you?" And Ben's like, "What? What?" like why would you say that? Like that's just weird. If you've seen my car, my car, take a look at my parents' car. Like what would lead you to believe that I'm a wealthy English kid? And Jonah's like, "Well, your dad. Like he knows everybody, in the Amish community." And it's like, oh, I don't know what that means. I mean, maybe not. Like it's interesting. Now I want to, and some of the other things like Jonai says, I've got to meet your dad. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'll come in anytime, whenever. And but Jonai and his integrity, like he was talking about something else, and it was really like I got to meet him because there's not very many people like him.
You
And
know he's
so,
related. You know he's related to me, to us.
well, yeah, of course, you guys are Amish.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's just like no matter where I go, like, oh yeah, that's the second cousin. Well, yeah, that's my mom's second. Like everybody's related to everybody.
Yeah.
It's just so intriguing. And
That is
and
so quick.
like, I just it's a reflex now when people say, "Oh, yeah, that person's related." Like, of course you are. Like,
Why wouldn't you be?
right when you're Amish. Like it's just like it's funny. Like Melissa, when she met Jason and stuff and they started dating, and then she went ahead and came into I can't believe she'd say this, but it's really funny. Like it doesn't reveal her heart. No, it's not that. But they come in and she's driving down the road and she sees all these Millers, you know, like Miller business, Miller business. She's like, holy cow, I'm dating somebody who's really, really successful and wealthy.
Wait, did she actually say that?
They did. She
That's
might
hilarious.
deny it like my mom did, but she said that. Like maybe in a weaker moment. Like, but Rosanna, it runs in the family. Rosanna, she says, I fell in love with your car first, which I was okay with that because I bought a really nice car with the intention of going to college and having a nice car because I knew it attracted women to me. Then I could have multiple women, and then I could, pick of the litter, kind of, so to speak. I could go ahead and say, which one do I want? And it worked. It worked. It was weird. I don't know, probably about 8 years ago, I was talking at Thanksgiving, I was talking with my father-in-law. Somehow it's weird because my youngest son called me last night. He says, Dad, what was your Firebird? You had a Firebird? I said, yeah, it was a 1977 Pontiac Firebird, spoiler, T-top. It was a beautiful baby blue. This thing was a chick magnet. I mean, it's like women just loved it. Anyways, my father-in-law had and said, um, you know, 8, 9 years ago at Thanksgiving, he says, yeah, that Pontiac Firebird, you probably went ahead and wish you hadn't gotten it. I'm like, oh no, I got a wife out of it. Nope, that was a good investment. That was a really, really good investment. So don't think my wife is any more shallow than I am. Like, I'm like,
She's the one that chose you.
right? Like, or the car. Like, hey, I'm pragmatic. Like Yen over in India. Like I was talking to him, one of the programmers, and he says, yeah, I'm getting married, in 2 weeks. I said, I didn't even know you were dating. And he said, well, I wasn't. I'm like, oh. He says, I said, oh, so it's an arranged marriage? He said, yeah. I said, I've been really curious about that because I hear that they're far more successful than the falling in love marriages. And I said, so I'm curious, like, can I ask you some questions? And he said, sure. And I said, so is that something that you have to do? Like that you have to do it? And he's like, oh no. Like half of the cousins, they fall in love and get married, and the other half, arranged marriages. And I said, so that's interesting. So why did you choose to go the arranged? He says, oh, it's far more efficient. And I said, huh, that's pretty interesting. So yeah, a lot of young Amish guys are coming to me, and we're starting to talk about setting up another company for arranged marriages because I think I would be really good at it, and we can make some good money. It's a great business. Anyways, so I said to him, I said, so I'm just curious, like, what about the falling in love thing? He says, well, my philosophy in life is you can either, fall in love and get married, or get married and fall in love. And I'm like, huh, well, that's got some merit to it. Like that makes a lot of sense. And then I said, so how's it all work? So, so I'm like, how does this whole thing work? And he's like, well, my parents, they go ahead and choose somebody, and then, they talk about with their parents and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And then I meet with her, and we talk for a couple hours. And then, if we're both good with it, we do it. And I'm like, and when you look at Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink, you know, It makes actual sense. So what did you got? I mean, I could keep this thing could be like a daisy chain. Like it just and you probably have to go to church or Marissa's got to go ahead and she's got you guys have a life. I don't. So I could do one end. Like I could just keep talking. Like it's so interesting. Like that last podcast was so intriguing. Like
Okay.
it just yeah, it just I've been thinking about it like every since, and I'm like, it's so interesting. So there's this guy I know, and he's been married for over 40 years. And his wife came to him and said, "Hey, honey, what do you think we can do to kind of spice up our marriage to make it, give it some zest and everything and and all that?" And he paused and he says, "Remember when we were younger and you actually, listened and were interested in what I had to say?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Maybe, you could try that." And she paused and she's like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen." And then she walked away.
Damn.
Right? That's what I'm saying. But Rosanna, she did something similar. She did something similar to that, a few weeks back where she's like, we're just sitting. I'm just sitting there innocently. Like I'm just minding my own business in the chair. I don't know, we're reading or something. And in the living room, and she's like, out of nowhere, she catches me off guard. And it's like, and she's like, you know, I think I've hurt you a lot over the last 40 years. And I want to understand that hurt. And I'm like, what? Like, and I'm just speechless. Like, I did just like that. I'm like, I don't think you do. I do not think you want it. No, you that's just, she just teasing me. Like, she's just teasing me, and it's just like, what am I supposed to do with that?
How does that tie into last week's discussion? I'm curious. Like what prompted those two things?
And so one is insanity is the best explanation is insanity, you know. So like like men who are 50 are massively dangerous to women in their 20s.
Go on.
So men in their 50s, they've not all of them, but a lot of them have worked. Again, sorry if no grandkids should be on this podcast. This is not a grandkid podcast. Until they're, I don't know, whatever age they are. Anyways, what? So men, they're they work their asses off. I mean, I started working when I was, I don't know, 11 or 12 or younger. I mean, and the whole time, I just worked the whole time, like the whole time. And when you hit 50, you're like, my wife doesn't listen to me as much, and none of my kids do. Like, like nobody listens to a white male over 50. Women, when they turn 20, they get the God complex. We've talked about that, right? Okay. So they get the God complex, and when they're, I don't know, a few days old, they have all this sexuality. Like baby girls have all this sexuality. Like, and you're not supposed to say this, but it just is true. You just, as a grandfather, you can see it. Like Lily, she just, like, I don't know, she's a day or two old, and she's just like the music comes on and her whole body starts to move. Like she didn't learn that. Like God built that into her. And she just, so I mean, it's a baby, so it's not sexual, but it is. I mean, a woman in her body, how she moves, it's wired in. And so, as a grandfather, you can think about these things and say, "Oh, that's strange." Like, like that's wired into her. There's the sexuality, and the seduction and little girls like they're 1, 2, they know how to move their grandfathers and grandmothers, especially their grandfathers. Like they look and their eyes, like it's all wired in. Their mom didn't teach it. It's like genetic DNA. And so, and then, so they're very super hypersensitive about how they look. Girls are just massive. It's just crazy. And, the Barbie movie, all these other things, it doesn't help. Society doesn't help. And so, but it's wired in, and moms don't help either because they relive their childhood through. And so they focus so much on being pretty. And it's like my granddaughters, I try so hard when they're like, Grandpa, look at my pretty outfit. I'm like, you are so pretty, but I love what's pretty inside you more. Like I am so, because it flips. And then they become teenage girls, and then but they notice men like crazy. Like there's an attractive girl or just a girl. Like if a woman, if a girl's dressed in a certain way or a woman's dressed in a certain way, and men like, okay. So girls are hypersensitive, and so they're like, they want attention. And so they start seeing how their body and the sexuality moves men. And they like to move men. Like in the Garden of Eden, and we'll close this loop. I don't know when, maybe a second podcast. Well, but in the Garden of Eden, the curse on Eve was desire for her husband. Husband want to think, well, that's desire sexual. It's not, guys. It's not. It's, if you look at the original language, this is the good Baptist training that I have. Like if you look at the original language, it's the desire to control him. So a woman has a desire to control men. It's wired in them. It's not their fault. It's I mean, it's interesting. And so they have this desire to control men. You see this once you're like, huh. And I'm not saying, that that's a bad thing. Like if people are jumping to conclusions, they're not thinking very clear, because men need to be controlled because they often lack self-control. So this can be really good for a man. This is why I'm a big believer in marriage, because men, if they're not controlled, and ideally they're self-controlled, but if they're not that, then a wife helps to go ahead and make sure that he doesn't do stupid stuff, because he's kind of wired to do stupid stuff. We won't even go down that path. And Abraham and with his daughter-in-law, there's just all of this stuff that interconnects with everything else. Anyways, so a woman, when she turns 20, everything shifts. So she's kind of looking at sexuality and she's like, don't get pregnant, and I don't know how to handle all this sexual stuff that's going on. But once she turns 20, in that area-ish, she starts to go ahead and shift from the sexuality to, I can create a human being, and she's terrified and excited. Like it's going back and forth. And so she's terrified and excited and all of those type of things. And she can become super curious, like crazy curious, not just about the sexuality stuff, but about how that connects into a human being and her future and everything. Well, so she wants to understand herself. She wants to understand, why does she have all these feelings and thoughts and emotions, and why is she all messed up and mixed up, and she doesn't understand, and it gets all crazy on her. Well, who's going to understand that?
An older man.
A man who's 50, especially if he's had daughters, especially if he's been married. So if he married young, he's been through this more than once. So he understands her. And so she absolutely, her heart is just drawn to him, because there's this guy that understands her, and man, does he understand her. And he's like, whoa, he actually thinks what I have to say has some value. This is so dangerous. It's insane. I mean, it's just crazy how dangerous it is for both the young woman and the man who's 50. But there's a natural connection because they both have something that the other wants. And so girls are very possessional. They possessional of their dad, their brothers, everybody. Like it's crazy when my son started dating their four sisters. I'm like, whoa, like wow, he's not yours. It's like he's your and they really put the girls through the ringer. Like it's like, whoa, what's out going on with and so like so I've had a lot of young women friends and men. So a lot of young, like, Marissa's parents did. And so when she said, she expressed like they talked about it, which is amazing. Like nobody ever talks about it. So I'm impressed with her and her parents. Can't wait to get them on the podcast. That'll be really, really cool. Marissa's, I'm not saying she's a little nervous about that. Wants to control the situation. I'm not saying that. She's different from other women. She's fine. It'll be fine. But what's really cool is she expressed that she was hurt by it. And her parents didn't respond in a way that like met that need. My perception, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But my perception is, but it's okay because Norman comes along and he's able to potentially fill that need. Because she's looking, she's missing something and she doesn't know why. I mean, intellectually, and I'm not saying Marissa, I'm just saying women of that age. She's looking for something, she's searching something, and intellectually it makes no sense, but emotionally there's something there. And so the intellect and the emotion gets all wonky. And it's like, so she's looking for the answer. And it's complicated. And the parents are like, 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 it's complicated for them too. So it helped me with my children, and they're going through some of that now. Like with Kenny, when he came into, like, all the kids were like they didn't like him. Not all of them. Most of them, like he was a threat. He like, why is Dad giving him all the attention? I don't know, because he's nice to me. Novel concept, like because he listens to me. Wow, like that's like he want like we're doing business together and life together and doing a bunch of stuff together. It's like it's just fun. And well, Dad, you can't have fun. Well, and men my age, they're not as eager. They're not as eager, and it's just fun pounding a young man at pickleball. Like it's just fun. It's just fun. It makes you feel young again. So you guys probably have to go.
Yeah, we are going to the early service this morning because she's got a baby shower to go to. But yes,
Of course you
it's been
do.
interesting. I had no idea where this is going, and this has been very interesting to just. Sometimes I came with very little thoughts this
Yeah.
morning, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, you couldn't tell. You could probably.
No, I always come with so many. I'm like, I feel bad because, I feel bad.
No, you don't have to feel
No.
bad. I like when you just go off the cuff. Sometimes that's more valuable than I don't know. We'll see.
I think where is this going to go? Like, I think where is it going to go? Like, where do we put the podcast and how do we go ahead and connect it like parents? Like parents, it's almost like I think it would be really cool. Like the response you had is burned in my brain when Marissa and I had played together and we had fun, about the fantasy games and all that kind of stuff and all of that. And it was fun to do that with her. And it was really cool that you were there and your response was priceless. And I wonder if that same experience you know, would be with her parents. Like they're like, huh, like he's really connecting with her. He's never even met her in person. They haven't known each other that like, and I would like, somebody to do that in front of me with my daughters, with my four daughters, like to teach me, like, because I have a hard time connecting with at least a couple of them. And the other two, I don't even know if I should connect with them because they've got husbands and, you know, and their husbands are far, far more important for them to connect than their dad, really. And so I have this heart for parents because they can't see the amazingness of their children. And it hurts. It just hurts. And then I have this huge hurt for kids that have this longing to connect with their parents, and it just doesn't work. And both are missing out. Both are missing out so much. And it's like how like the property in Michigan, the 11 acres that Life Masteries is looking at, like I can see how you have a lot of fun in the families, and then how do you have some deep moments of introspection? Like how do you have that fireplace experience that you had at camp and have it go a little bit different? like like or have it go however it goes and then being able to navigate. So anyways, well, you guys are always a joy. It's always fun. Thank you. Um,
We appreciate you,
Thanks,
Mike. We
well,
appreciate.
I appreciate both of you guys. You guys, the impact you're having on me and other people is just, it's massive. You don't even see it. Like it, anyways, gotta let you guys go. Cause I got so many things that just my day's packed and I know you guys have time, but I've gotta go.
We respect your time, Mark.
Right, because man, I got a life. I got so many things going. If you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, I don't even know what to tell you. Hopefully you enjoy it. Share it with your parents. Seriously. Our parents, share it with your kids. Seriously. Like it's unbelievable. If you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.